Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on the old show today, the Hellcat Challenger. Yeah, we've talked about this a fair amount of times. And apparently the Fiat Chrysler, Dodge, and the SRT group are in a pretty good situation as they're building 1,200 units of the first go-round for this particular machine. But apparently they've got way more customers than they have units that are being built. So they're in a very good situation, which has spawned a little bit of a situation, meaning this car is fetching a tad bit of a premium. But don't freak out if you remember back in the day, the first edition of the Viper back in the early 90s was actually selling for twice, maybe 3 times as much it was actually stickered for. That's not the situation when it comes to the old Hellcat here. It looks like about a $10,000 premium over sticker, which just does put it just a touch over 70,000 US dollars, which is not bad for 707 brake horsepower. Now, keeping with the Hellcat, and you may remember this particular machine, this being the SRT-10 Ram pickup truck from back in the day, where they basically took the Viper drivetrain, well, be it the transmission and the engine itself, and slammed it into this full-size Ram pickup truck. Well, the folks over at Car and Driver brought it up to one of the heads of the Ram truck division, asked them if there was going to be a Hellcat edition of the Ram pickup truck, which that executive said no. Well, maybe not at first. So, maybe a little bit of diarrhea of the mouth for that Ram truck guy to actually come out and say, maybe not at first, means there's a door opening for quite possibly a 707 brake horsepower pickup truck coming very soon. Hopefully very, very soon. Next up on the list, when we talk about the Nismo GT-R, well, apparently Nissan's in a pretty good situation as well, as the Nismo edition of this particular machine is sold out. Or at least it is here in the United States. And if you want to get a little sneak peek at the first car that was delivered to its new home, there's a nice little video. I'll put it up on the Facebook page of a fellow down in South Carolina, or it might have been North Carolina, I can't remember which one. And he actually purchased the first edition of the Nismo GT-R to be sold here in the United States. And Nissan, they opened up the red carpet for him too and did some nice stuff for his stuff over at his house as well. This guy's a very big GT-R fan, owned a pair of them in the meantime, not to mention he's one of the heads of the biggest GT-R groups here in the United States. So, neat little video. If you get over to the Facebook page, you can check it out. Next up on the list, the Nurburgring has been sold again. A weird little situation, the Capricorn Group, which I thought was a perfect situation, buying the Nurburgring back in the springtime. Apparently those funds didn't come through. Now, I know that there's a lot of folks out there that may be a part of the Save the Ring project, where a lot of folks are really concerned that if this course gets into private hands, that they may doze the whole property and make a strip mall out of it or whatever like that. So they're very concerned. And when the Capricorn Group came in, you know what? They were an automotive supplier group that was based just outside Nuremberg, Germany. So they're a German company. They make auto parts. This would be a perfect situation in my mind. But the Save the Ring people were still very, very hesitant. Well, maybe they had a right to be hesitant because apparently the Capricorn Group couldn't come up with the funds that were necessary. In fact, the coming up with the funds actually ended up in March of 2014. Now, we've got a new partner. A Russian billionaire has actually poked his head in with the cash to buy the 2/3 that the Capricorn Group actually owned. Now, this deal hasn't gone through officially as far as the German government is concerned, so we'll probably hear a whole lot more about it very soon, but be very interesting. Some trying times for the Nürburgring circuit over in Germany. Last up on the list, an interesting little story involves this particular fellow. This is Peter Max. Peter Max is an artist. He actually does a lot of bright colored type photography and paintings and whatnot, and does some full-on painting on full-on automobiles and things like that, which prompted him to buy a group of automobiles way back in the day that sadly have sat in a parking garage for 25 years. Now, a little background story on these particular automobiles. there is a television channel here in the United States called VH1. VH1 wanted to do a little deal that would get them in the papers and get a lot of press. They were going to give a Corvette, well, a collection of Corvettes, to one person in the United States. In fact, they were going to give a Corvette for every year that the Corvette's been in existence. Obviously, except for the 1983 year, where they had all the problems, had to recall all of them, and there's only one of those cars left, and it's sitting over at the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. But all those other years were going to be represented by this particular deal, which sounds expensive, but VH1 had a plan. They had a 1-900 number that you had to call to actually get your name into the hat to win these cars. And that 900 number cost $2 per call to put you into the contest. And apparently the old folks over VH1 really poked at it until they got over 1 million entrants, which well paid for all of those automobiles. Well, there was a fellow out of Long Island over near New York, a contractor that actually won all the cars. And before he could even get to lay his hands on them, Peter Max there actually walked in, offered him $250,000 cash and $250,000 of his artwork. And the promise that once he was done with the automobiles, and you see a lot of the cars have got some weirdo little color patches and kind of, don't worry about the Volkswagen there. That was an old art car that he had done before. But all these particular machines then would be sold off once he was done doing his little art magic to them. And the fellow that actually, the contractor they bought them from, would receive a chunk of it, upwards to $1 million, if the car sold for enough money. Well, apparently Mr. Max never did anything with the machines. They've been sitting in a parking garage for 25 years. Until here a handful of days ago, when a fella came in, bought the whole group from Mr. Max, and he's planning on putting these cars back on the road, especially some of the rare. So the rare ones are going to go back and get restored. Some of them that aren't worth near as much are just going to get a light cleaning up, if you will, and put into people's hands. The guy claims he's going to auction off every one of these machines, has no plans, at least in the beginning, to actually own or keep any of these particular cars. He's just going to put them right back into people's hands that will love them for the rest of their lives. So I guess it's not a bad deal, but a weird situation. 25 years these cars have been sitting. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you jump on over to the Facebook page, you can check out that Nismo GT-R video. Also, you can see the first trailer for the brand new Fast and Furious film and all the other good stuff that we got going on over there. Also, if you want to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.